Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for the Making Progress channel. Video number 21. AI-generated fakes are not news. They're not. And we're going to squash this one. Hopefully once and for all. What's on the menu for today? We're going to talk about a few things. First, what are AI-generated fakes? Why are they bad, supposedly? What other fakes came before AI? There were other fakes. I know, it's crazy. How are AI fakes different? How are they more insidious potentially? What stops many of the downsides, potential downsides of AI fakes, and what I think the future of AI-generated fakes and fakes in general are. So, what are AI fakes? Generally speaking, AI-generated fakes can be audio bites, they can be pictures, they can be video clips, they can be social media posts, and they are generated with the help of AI, which oftentimes can make them seem very convincingly real. They have a complexity to them at times where you're like, nobody took the time to fake this. This is very intricate, but AI can render very complex things very quickly. And they're just not real, right? Or they're modifications of a real photo, real video to put stuff in there or take stuff out that makes it not entirely the truth or just whole cloth made up. Two examples come to mind. One, this isn't so much a fake, but I guess could be interpreted as one. You can get on these AI-powered voice generators, you can get Frank Sinatra in a convincing Frank Sinatra voice to sing like Biggie lyrics. I thought it was pretty dope, but he's like, man, we're gonna shoot each other, man. See, that's my Frank Sinatra impression. Anyway, and yes, I am comfortable saying that Biggie talked about violence a lot. That whole Scott's video guy, that whole clip we have of rappers are vile or whatever got a lot of people really upset. Ooh. I loved it. So there's another one, the Trump arrest pic. It was an AI-generated fake of Donald Trump getting arrested, basically on Pennsylvania Avenue or some shit like that. He's running in a business suit and tons of uniformed cops are chasing after him. He's like, arr, 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 and the cops are like, arr, arr, arr. There's a couple of snaps of it. And apparently this generated a big storm on Twitter. And the person sharing this was like, AI fakes are a big problem. And someone aptly pointed out, you knew this was fake and you're sharing it to illustrate that AI fakes are a problem. Are you part of the problem? And he's like, wow, I'm just saying anyone could have shared this and it happened to be me, but this confuses people and we need more, inevitably we need more regulation. That's always the thing. So let's steelman the proposition here. Why are AI fakes bad? I have, at least 4 reasons I can think of. There's probably more. First, some people that view them and sort of fall for them can have a distorted view of reality. I mean, if I do believe for some time that Trump really was arrested by the police on Pennsylvania Avenue, that's really kind of bad for my decision-making and the following minutes until someone tells me that's not really the case. And if I'm consuming a lot of fakes, maybe it can pervert my decision-making and I can just make worse decisions. I mean, knowing things that are false, being convinced of things that are false and thinking they're true is just bad news. Garbage in, garbage out. Geico is a fine insurance corporation. It's just not good to think that have illusory conceptions of the world. AI fakes can be used by nefarious actors to influence political opinion, for example. Russian cyber warfare is just absolutely classic in this regard. Russia operates a ton of troll farms. Anytime I will very occasionally, I think I've done this maybe 3 times over the entire Ukraine conflict, I've posted my opinions, which can be summarized as Russia is terrible, Putin's totally in the wrong, and I hope Ukraine crushes all those motherfuckers. It's quite simple. Almost no intelligent people disagree with this, but if you go on any YouTube comment section and even my Insta, there are people that share oddly similar opinions with oddly similar talking points, and some of their accounts don't make a whole lot of sense as human accounts. They're just Russian bots, and they're either human account managers that comment on 1,000 posts a day, or they're actual bots that string together the same BS paragraphs. I almost as a rule never reply to them. You don't want to feed the trolls, and their opinions are so far beneath consideration as any amount of Google searching will be like, oh, actually none of that is true. So they definitely can tilt political opinion, at least marginally, with this kind of cyber warfare. And that's quite bad. That's quite bad. Number 3, if you have to filter through a lot of fakes and real stuff, if you can't simply look at a news source or social media stream and just be like, oh, like I assume everything I'm being shown is the truth. If there are some very random fakes, you can, I can make a mistake every now and again. But if there's a lot of them, it kind of clogs your bandwidth because you have to take a lot of your cognitive bandwidth to try to figure out, okay, is this really real or is it not real? And they can at least create bumps in civic discourse where people have to get back on the same page. Someone's like, well, what about this? And you're like, well, actually, that was fake. And they're like, oh, what? Oh, hold on. I don't believe you. Let me look into it. 10 minutes later, like, okay, you're right. Okay, what were we talking about again? We got to get down to the bottom of this civic, discussion or something like that. And of course, maybe sort of most concerningly in the real world, outside of Twitter, is they can facilitate outright criminal fraud. I mean, there are definitely known cases where AI can replicate someone's voice well enough that they're calling people who are friends and family with that person. And it sounds like it's that person asking for financial details. And then that financial details are disclosed and then they run away with money. I'll have more to say on this later, but bad stuff definitely happens. So when people say AI fakes can potentially have pretty nasty consequences, they're absolutely not wrong. But the news is AI fakes. Okay, so if you say if you make an article or a Twitter post that says, hey, fakes are a real big problem, people are going to be like, okay, haven't fake stuff been around for forever? Is it like a new fake thing? So that's the angle you take, is AI is new and everything's all about AI. And AI is so scary, right? The robots are going to kill us all. I don't know what AI is really, but I know as a default, I'm fucking terrified of it. And so when someone says AI fakes, I'm assuming that's real bad. So we're kind of thinking, okay, AI fakes are real special, real different, and this is bad news. And that may be true. We'll talk about later if it's true or not. But for now, let's focus on what fakes have come before, because then we can understand the fakes that have come before, AI fakes, and see if there's a real big difference between them. And if there's a big difference, potentially that could be very much concerning. But if there's not really a big difference, so potentially it's like, well, isn't this kind of more of the same? So let's think this through. A couple of grand tour of history here, not sequenced very well, but a couple of examples of previous cases of fakes that are very, very common, very popular. First, the War of the Worlds broadcast. If you don't know what that is, Google War of the Worlds broadcast, just get to the Wikipedia page, read it. It is fascinating. There's probably, if you YouTube this, you'll get the original War of the Worlds broadcast, but you'll also get some analysis of it, little history documentaries about it. It is unreal. It's just super, super interesting stuff. Basically what happened is Orson Welles read the War of the Worlds fiction book on air in 1938. In 1938, not even everyone had radios. Almost no one had televisions, etc. So when something was read on a broadcast, people back then, there's this thing called a Flynn effect, which is that IQ has been steadily rising for as long as it's been measured. Lately, it's kind of doing this, but still nonetheless, on average, the world's rising. And because we know smart people in the 30s, real brilliant geniuses were just about as brilliant as the geniuses today, it's kind of like, well, how are people getting smart on average? And one of the pretty good explanations is posited for this is that everyone's worldlier all the time. The amount of random stuff about the world that a person in redneck middle of nowhere in America knows right now is really impressive because he's on his smartphone all the time, looking at Twitter and Instagram and Twitch and Foxwipe or whatever kids are looking at nowadays. He's just going to be aware of all kinds of stuff, have a worldliness about their knowledge that is the opposite of what's called parochial, right? It's just people just know stuff. Why? Because the fucking internet. Back when radio broadcasts and books were pretty much all you had, a lot of people took the radio seriously. And the War of the Worlds reading was kind of a troll job where Orson Welles, when he read it, he was kind of reading it as if it was happening right now. And some people, many people, literally panicked and thought that Mars, that's right, the planet Mars, with their conquest interplanetary army, was literally fighting a war right now somewhere. I run outside my house, I don't see any explosions. Maybe they're just, over the horizon. If you believe that sort of thing, flat Earth, of course. People thought Mars was literally attacking. Talk about a fake. Holy shit. And we look at it now, it's like quaint, like that's funny, right? But if you look at a Trump meme and you think it's real now from some fucking unverified Twitter account, that's you, dog. That's the same shit. You're doing the same shit. Huge precedent for this. Not the first time. Big fake. Huge effect. Example number 2. Social media accounts. There are so many fake spam accounts of celebrities and all kinds of people. This is getting better. But at least in Instagram from the year sort of 2015, 2016 up until 2021, fakes were everywhere. And there still are to a large extent, but they really were in sort of grand affair. And there's at least at some point probably still like at least 5 fake Dr. Mike accounts. And, they message people who accidentally follow them and say, hey, how are you doing? And people are like, oh my God, Dr. Mike. People send me these screenshots. They're like, yes, I have a great Forex trading opportunity for you. And they're like, And then they're like, oh, crap. This is Dr. Mike Israetel, not Dr. Mike Israetel. I got. So fake social media accounts have been a thing for a while, and they're not controversial. They're not news. They're not very scary. You just have to make sure you follow either verified accounts or the account that has 180,000 followers and is clearly actually Dr. Mike or whoever the hell you follow. Don't follow me. I suck on social media. In any case, point number 3, this one's the kicker. The existence of this one I'm going to tell you is what kind of made me go irate and make this talk for you guys, because it's a little bit off topic for our usual discussions. But nonetheless, I had to make this one because of this. You guys, when that fake Trump arrest picture came out and the allegedly intellectual people that talked about how big of a deal it was, the first thought that hit my mind, which is probably hitting your mind right now if it hadn't occurred to you 5 minutes before when you saw the Trump meme, was this. You motherfuckers asleep for Photoshop? Adobe Photoshop has been in existence for 2 generations or some shit, at least a generation. Right now, it's been around for a real long time. It's insanely easy to use. And if you really clue in on how to use it and take your time, you can make really convincing fake photos. You take Photoshop, you take Premiere, you take video editing software. How do you guys think they make movies? When I watch Lord of the Rings, I'm like, that shit looks like it's really happening. The technology to make fake videos, images, sound bites, etc., is now AI generated as helping it, but it's ubiquitous. There is no news here. Adobe Photoshop exists, and people have been photoshopping since the fucking dawn of time. Cavemen used to use Photoshop as far as I'm concerned. And to that point number 4 of what other fakes came before, you guys, the greatest fakes from all of history are hearsay and rumor. When you tell your friend Jessica that Stacy gave Kyle a BJ under the bleachers in the gym, and you totally made that up because you hate that bitch, you just generated an audio fake. You generated a fake idea in someone's head that you incepted someone. You're like fucking Leonardo DiCaprio here. That's what you did. Hearsay and rumor are not new. Fake news is not news. It's been around for, Jesus, all of time. That really is the case. And you can tell I'm quite irate about it. So now that we know a bit of the fact that fakes are definitely not news, dare I say, especially via Photoshop, very convincing fakes, even to the trained eye, they're not news. So we have to ask the question now, as I promised we would, how are AI fakes different? Well, first, they can be, not often are, more realistic. And I'll bet all of my net worth on this, they will become significantly more realistic over time. The incentives are just too great. If you can generate convincing AI videos and images and stuff like that, the amount of money to be made on that by just increasing how much content you're putting out is just enormous. If you can film an entire movie with just actors in front of a green screen equivalent and you just AI fake the rest of it, I mean, you're literally talking about the budget being rental space for the green screen room, paying the actors, and then post-production and, making sure that whoever holds the fucking dead cat audio thing gets paid. That's it. Do you guys know how much it costs to book travel to fucking Ethiopia to film in the real desert? Oh my God. If you could just AI generate all that, holy shit, will studios pay? Don't you worry. There are 100 startups working on this right now. It's going to get better and better. AI fakes are going to get much, much, much more realistic easily. And my prediction is in the next 5 to 10 years, 5 years at most, many AI fakes that you can readily make with a very low budget will cross the threshold of most people just can't tell them apart. Visual acuity wise, detail wise, nothing. This looks just exactly like a video is playing right in front of you. Another thing, AI fakes, used to be when you fake the movie background green screen, it takes a production team, Industrial Light and Magic, all this other crap. AI fakes can be made faster, cheaper, and by way more people because the AI does the tough work. You just kind of seed it and tell it what to do and fix a few things, and voila, there's your fake. This is also a trend that will continue over time, at least for some time. Fakes will become much more accessible for more people to make. Thus, fakes will continue to fool a greater total number of consumers of digital information in the future. That's my prediction. How many people a given fake fools? You throw a fake out on the internet and somehow you poll everyone that sees it, be like, did this fool you or not? And let's say we scan their brains and they for sure telling us the truth and we know when they're lying. It's always a spectrum. There are no fakes, nor will there ever be any fakes that fool 100% of all people. Why? Because there are always crazy ass conservatives that think every even real thing is fake. Like, hey, I heard Russia invaded Ukraine. Man, I tell you what, man, that's what they want you to believe. And you're like, I'm sorry, who's they? Like the media. Like, okay, like Newsmax and Ben Shapiro. Like, no, those are the truth speakers, son. The real media, the leftists, the CNNs, and all the liars. And even Trump's a liar. He's not conservative enough. You're like, I see you are mentally ill. Excellent. Conservatives, feel free to get triggered in the comments. And all jokes. All right. So no one's ever going to get fooled 100% because even reality doesn't convince some people. Most fakes will fool some percent of people, even terrible fakes. I mean, grandma still clicks on the Nigerian prince emails. You guys, those emails still do numbers. That scam still is running. Someone's making money on that scam. Grandma will click on anything. Do not give her a computer. She'll buy the fucking whatever it is she's donating to the Nigerian prince. That's a thing. Now, all else being equal, the better the fakes, the more people they will fool. And if you think about it, you're like, this is kind of scary because they're going to fool a ton of people and it's really going to make all these problems worse. Is it scary? I submit to you that it is not scary. So we have to ask the question of, if it's not scary, what is stopping AI fakes from having all these mega downsides? I talked about the downsides, but I don't think a lot of those are going to come to pass. Fakes, I'm telling you, my belief is they are not a big problem. Not even a little, not even at all. What? Why not? Do explain. Mike, no worries. I have at least 5 lines of reasoning. First, I'm going to cut right to the real on this. Yes, in a nuanced discussion, some of these are comedically exaggerated points, but I think you guys will see what I'm trying to say here. If you fall, point number 1, if you fall for basically Photoshop fakes at this point in history in 2023, you're either like 100 years old, totally excused, 9 years old, can't tell reality from pretend anyway, joined the internet yesterday, saw your first meme yesterday, have a level of intellectual impairment that means that somebody needs to live with you to tie your shoes and make sure you have a lunch to, go to school with. Maybe you don't go to school. Good God. This is like Karen, the Trump supporter who shares all the fake news on Facebook all the time, level of completely insane. If you can fall for an AI-generated fake, if you see the Trump AI-generated fake and you're like, the police right now are arresting Donald Trump, who in his business suit is physically running from dozens of officers and fighting them off, I'm not overly concerned about that, because if you do think that, you're either a child or just unfortunately too old for a lot of cognitive stuff to be happening like it used to, or just so batshit crazy that, you got more problems than AI fakes to fuck with. And you're not a decision maker. You're not a leader. You don't run a company. You're not having a huge effect on the meta scale of society. It's a mean take, but God damn it, you guys know what I'm talking about. It's like maybe like if you guys have parents that are in the 60s or 70s, they'll like say things about stuff they saw on the internet. You're like, you know, the NPC meme never mind. And they're like, what's an NPC? You're like, no, oh, good God, never mind. Don't worry. Just let them click around Facebook, find all the memes they like, believe whatever they want. Next, AI fakes are just better Photoshop fakes. This is not some cataclysmically different thing. And because we know that audio fakes have been a thing for forever, they took more processing, but now they're easier to make. Then and the video fakes or something people have made for forever. I mean, you guys, they had a hologram Michael Jackson dancing on stage at one of his concerts like years after his death. If you saw that and you were like, MJ's alive and he's doing a concert right now, again, you're in that group number one of people that like, they need help to make sense of reality anyway. And I'm not so concerned about AI fakes affecting them because they're not really interacting intellectually with the meat and potatoes of society. I know it's a dick thing to say, but fuck, it's true. There's no big chasm between traditional fakes and AI fakes, other than the fact that AI fakes are just like, they may be more common and you might see them more, but there's not really a big difference there. It leads me to my next point. Who believes verbatim posts made on one of two things? Unverified social media accounts. Can you imagine some random social media account and they're like, President Joe Biden just got shot. And it's a picture of him getting shot. You're like, oh my God. Like, what? But that could be anyone. Who the fuck posted that? It's like Dildo Lover 59. Like, really? Really? You believe that? Most people don't believe that. Most people just keep scrolling. Like, Biden got shot. Wonder if that's true. Probably not. Trust me, if that really happened, you'd find out about it. And sometimes even verified accounts post videos or links to pictures, but the place where that link is to is some weird backwater corner of the internet. And most people in this day and age that are relevant to political and social discourse, they don't fall for this stuff. I know it's scare tactic to think everyone falls for it, but almost nobody falls for it. There is no mass panic. When that Trump meme came out, the person who posted it first was basically like, AI fakes are a big deal and there's going to be panic. Nobody panicked. Everyone's like, oh, like we're used to seeing Trump do such weird shit in real life that nobody even cared. Like Trump's getting arrested again. Do you like try to drive over to the January 6th thing and get his ass arrested there? Who the fuck cares? Trump, cool. I love his hair. Some of his policies are great. He's funny when he debates people. That's what most people think. No one's getting real shocked here anymore. Very few people, and mostly people that are not involved in really heavy political discourse. You guys, people used to think legitimately that cameras stole their souls when they took the pictures. And falling for AI fakes is just like a modern equivalent of this. It's beyond the pale. There's no real concern that is like, oh shit, we better outlaw cameras. People can't have their souls getting stolen. That's kind of the argument for regulating AI, to make sure that we got to make sure we get to fight these fakes. Why? They have almost no impact, if any impact at all, in the grand sense. And here's some really good news. You personally can prevent fakes, AI fakes even, from affecting you nearly 100% by following 3 simple practices. First, only consume your news from established news organizations. And if they share accidentally some news that doesn't pan out, some news that was fake, some news that didn't turn out to be true, you gotta voice your concern, get on them, comment, email, however you rabble rouse, to make sure that, or just unfollow. If like, Reuters does 2 fakes in a row, fuck that. I'm onto some other shit. I'm onto Associated Press or whatever, wherever you get your news. Ground News is a great website for that sort of thing. I'm just not interested in whatever they have to say. And they'll lose followers and they'll be like, holy shit. Because news orgs, I mean, if you run a news organization, telling the truth is the best long-term asset you have. And if you ditch that, Like if you go to like Breitbart or something for your news, or like Mother Jones, I don't even know if that's real, or Huffington Post, those are so right-wing and left-wing biased that like whoever gets the news off that, it's just like they lie and exaggerate so much that it's just like a pretend, it's a narrative. So if you really go to your news for the good stuff, you just avoid most AI fakes, because most of the time Associated Press, Reuters, etc., serious news orgs that have a bit of their own bias, but usually not crazy, they just don't share fakes because it's a bad deal for them if they do. Sometimes they will by accident, and then let it be known, etc. And if they do it too much, unfollow them. Over time, as has been the case of all of history, quality of the news continues to improve, which is awesome. Next, have an open mind to new media of all types and don't just jump to conclusions ASAP. Like if someone's like, oh my God, you see that vid of like Kanye West punching Lex Fridman in the face? If I see it, I can say, oh my God, this happened? Wow, Twitter, opinion, rabble. Or I can be like, yeah, I don't know, is that real? I don't know. I'll remind you guys of something very critical that people tend to forget sometimes. Almost 100% of the time, your Twitter feed does not proximally affect your life in any fucking way. Sam Harris used to be real pissed about Twitter. Then he got off Twitter and his life got better. Is he missing some insight from Twitter? He like doesn't know which way to go to buy groceries because it's not on his Twitter feed. I'm not on Twitter. I think I'm on there nominally. It like reposts from my Facebook from fucking years ago. I have no plans of getting on Twitter. Maybe I'll get on Twitter at some point. Yeah, sure, shit, don't read Twitter and follow people because Twitter is like an insane asylum. And almost everything on Twitter is stuff that's like, if it's really important news, you'll find out one way or another. So a lot of people are like, oh, there's so many fakes. Oh no. It's like, oh no, what? Twitter's a fucking joke. The whole thing's a joke. So you don't need anything on there. It's entertaining. It's fun. And if you follow certain people, you get great news, great takes, amazing. But it's all kind of for fun anyway. I don't know anyone that makes serious business decisions, serious financial decisions, serious relationships decisions about would I go to the store today or tomorrow by going to Twitter, all right, or by going to Instagram or Foxwipe or any other social media platform. So the fake's not a huge deal. And you can always be like, I'm not sure. A couple days later, everyone find out it's a fake. And you didn't clown yourself by like super overreacting and being like, I can't believe Kanye would do this or whatever. Last. This might sound crazy, guys. It might sound so insane, but don't give your personal info to unknown callers or emails who you don't have nearly 100% idea are people that you know who they are. This is obvious stuff. Why am I pissed about this? I've heard a bunch of chatter about people really just vexed about AI fakes and saying, well, the voice fakes are so good. You got people calling and getting financial info claiming to be this and that person. You guys, when's the last time that your dad called you and he's like, hey, what's up, son? And you're like, what's up, dad? He's like, I really need to know your account and routing number. What the fuck? What? And some of the fakes are more savvy than that, but Jesus Christ, who raised you? Do not give sensitive financial information over the phone unless it's insanely convincing. And the good news is if in most cases, if they get the finances from you, bank, whatever, your bank is FDIC insured and it will just get the money back. It's all digital transactions anyway, and they know exactly who took the money. So then they go, you, boom, and then they report to the agency and that person gets arrested. It's just not that easy to steal money from people unless they're very complicit in just giving away personal info and all this other crazy stuff to a fucking AI fake. So again, this is hugely, hugely overblown because overblowing things is a big deal. Finally, the future, my predictions on the future of AI fakes. I think that the increasing degree of verification by social media companies is a huge blow to AI fakes. Because if your account is verified, not only are you insanely much less likely to be posting fakes, but if you post fakes, they can take you to task for it because they know who you are. And if you are the original fake poster and you keep posting fakes, people find out that's really you posting. They're just like, hey, did you see that video of Trump, punching Mother Teresa in the face. You're like, yeah, that one guy shared it. You're like, yeah, like, that guy just shares fakes all the time. Everyone knows that. I'm like, all right, guess he does. Because it's not just out of the ether. If real human beings are the ones sharing stuff or real corporations, very unlikely they're going to be sharing fakes. And if they do, you can get real wise to it real fast. For whatever fakes are left over, why you would give a shit about what non-verified people share at all is a curious question. AI-powered fake detectors can easily be engineered to kind of clean up most of the rest. Because if fakes ever get to be a real nasty problem, and most faking is done by barely competent criminals from backward places in the world, if serious tech companies try to create anti-fake technology, fake detectors, etc., they're going to do 10 times a better job than those people ever can. Like, guys, I hate to tell you this, but like Ocean's 11 isn't fucking real. Thieves and robbers, they're just generally really stupid fucking people or really flawed people and living in some weird ass country, Russia or some shit like that. Stay calm. I'm from Russia. It's not a great place, currently at least, or ever in its history. Yeah, both. There's not a high degree of criminal competency. Nigerian prince is about the level you expect. So if fakes ever become a bigger problem, the security industry, digital security, is just going to crush them. Like, it's done that for almost everything so far. Every now and again, a virus causes a problem. But generally, the security, the internet security or the network security industry is so overpowered because having your website or platform go down because of viruses or hacks is such a big deal. Viruses and hacks, etc., have this huge precipitous decline in effect and the negative degree of effect over time. Back in the 90s, early 90s, oh my God, you can fucking hack anything because no one was ready for the shit. As the 90s progressed, as the 2000s progressed, people realized hacks are a big deal. Let's get on it. And then the smartest people in the room were paid the most money by the most competent corporations and governments. And now that's what they do. So yes, sometimes entire countries put their weight behind hacking, North Korea, China, Russia. That's a big deal. I think we should be fighting cold wars with these countries, some combination of that and trying to trade with them, see which one works best. I think they're terrible bad actors. I don't think they belong in this world in their current forms. I think, full transparency, I think China should just be called Junior Taiwan. I think everything Taiwan does is better than China. They should just adopt that as the ruling government. I think Russia needs another revolution to get everyone out of power. I think people from outside of Russia should come rule Russia. So Russians simply can't do it themselves, seemingly. Interestingly enough, Russians used to invite Swedish and other Nordic princes and kings to rule them. Strange idea because they knew they weren't fucking good at it. We need to bring that back. And North Korea, what more could be said about North Korea than they're just terrible? So once, hopefully in a few decades or less, those countries change or are not any longer real big problems, we're just not going to have real serious, concerted, well-funded, slick efforts to do fakes and hacking and all that stuff. And if we ever get that, the response to that is going to be so much greater because the incentives for a stable, truth-seeking society are so great for all of us. A stable financial system is so much a valued thing that if anyone successfully exposes hacking in finance, they're going to crush it out, no problem. And the evidence for that is they always do. And they're getting better and better and better at it over time. So it's not this thing to freak out about. For internet security experts, it's definitely a thing to be concerned about and work at, but it's not something you should like keep you awake at night. Fakes will continue to exist and they'll be on social media and they're going to be really fun. Most fakes are hilarious. Like, look, it's like, Donald Trump is a really fat guy or something. And I think that's awesome. But fewer and fewer people will take them seriously because, again, we have that shift to more worldliness. You can fool a lot of people the first, second, third time you put something out, but you fool fewer and fewer people the more it comes out. The Orson Welles broadcast of War of the Worlds, it just wouldn't work today because everyone would be like, oh yeah, like Martians are coming to kill us. I love this podcast. They're not going to be like, oh, Mars is really coming to kill us. Like, that's insane to think about. And if you showed someone a convincing picture or video in the 1980s, if you teleported it back in time that was made by AI or really competent Photoshop or Adobe Premiere or whatever, they would be like, holy shit, this is really happening? And then you'd be like, no, but it makes sense because you've never seen a good fake. But nowadays on the internet, I don't know about you guys, like everything I see in a Twitter feed or Instagram feed or whatever, or TikTok, I just like assume a question mark as the basis. Any kind of claim, any kind of video, anything could be faked. I'm just like, eh. And if there's like from a verified source, I Google it, I check some other sources. Oh, okay, that's probably real. But I usually don't. I just don't put a lot of stock into shit I see on social media because you guys, I know it sounds crazy, but it's fucking social media. It's not that big of a deal. Social media is ultra powerful. It will eventually be integrated into everything we do in our lives. But by then, fakes are going to be real tough and you're going to know where they are, what they are in almost all costs. In a sense, the controversy over AI fakes is hilariously kind of fake itself. But people love scare tactics and they love bullshit and it gets people clicking. You guys know Joe, Scott, the video guy who runs our team of people who make the thumbnails. Our job with thumbnails is to do two things. No outright lies, get you to click. We're part of the problem here, quote unquote. Sensationalistic claims, barely in context. But then again, if you learn things about the world from thumbnails, in my darker moments, I kind of fucking hope that you're confused a lot. Because you need to not do that anymore. What is like never judge a book by its cover? That's exactly in the digital realm what you are doing. So people everywhere, like I've gotten this thing where I'm trying to look for good videos to watch on YouTube about a whatever topic. And obviously I like a lot of AI shit. It's getting hard for me to click on stuff because the thumbnails and titles are getting so egregious with just like this AI update to Bard is the ultimate answer. This, like my favorite thumbnail is like, this will change everything. Yeah, I bet it won't. Most of the time, clickbait nonsense is clickbait fucking nonsense. At least you guys click on our clickbait. You get some good banter, maybe some jokes, maybe some insight. But a lot of the stuff is people love hype. And there is a particular kind of person that loves clicking on these videos. I'll just say it's just neurotic. And it's one of the big 5 personality traits, and it's mostly genetic. Some people, their default mental state is this. Oh God. This is just how they live their lives. And you can tell them anything, and they'll freak out about it. And if you tell them, look, AI fakes, bad news, like, oh God, AI fakes. Am I an AI fake? You guys, holy shit. Things are usually not bombastic and not shocking. Reality is quite pleasant and very stable. Things are generally getting better over time. There are absolutely things that are getting worse or bad. They do need our concern, but they need calm, logical concern, not us freaking out about them. If you're freaking out about something, you're almost always doing the wrong thing. In the end, with fakes specifically, fakes are about as old as the world's first lie or even the first mirage. You look across the desert, you're like, water. And you come up, there's no water. You're like, damn, AI fakes got me again. AI fakes in general, they're not disruptive in the grand scheme, and they're not news. Now I just fed the algorithm talking about AI fakes, but at least hopefully Scott the video guy tells this video something like AI fakes are not news, but it'll probably be like AI fakes, the worst thing ever or nuclear disaster. Find out tonight at 11. Anyway, stay calm, folks. Try to think a little bit. I'm trying my best. See you next time.